So you want to learn to wheelie. To start off, we will talk about what bike I use and why. I'll show my controller setup, my bike setup, and then we'll look at how to get the wheel off the ground and some techniques, and then how to do balance point wheelies, coasting, and then at last the wheelie circles. So to start off, the difference between the MX bikes and the Supermoto is in this game is basically the Supermoto because of the shape of the tire. They can do much tighter wheelie turns. So if you want to do like really leaned over wheelie turns, you have to use those. But they have worse brakes for some reason. I'll overlay a clip now comparing the two. As we can see, the SM bike on the left and the MX bike on the right. They have both stopped going back now, and they are both on full brake. And the timer starts here, and you'll see that the MX bike comes forward first. And this makes quite a big difference when you're trying to coast. The MX brakes are a lot better, and that makes it a lot easier to scrape the MX bikes because of the increased brake power. Okay, so that is that out of the way. The bike I use is mostly the SX 150 because I like two-stroke, and I don't use the 125s that much because they have very low torque and the low RPMs. So when you go really slow, there's little power. I can show you my settings first. Here, this is, we'll go input. I have combined brakes, so it starts braking both at the same time, front and back. You can pause here if you need to copy anything. I think any setup is good as long as you're used to it. The combined brakes, though, I really like them. Directly in that is, if you put that to 100%, when you let go of the stick, the rider will just immediately turn back up. It kind of reminds one of a stability setting. The input here, I have preload on so that I can hold a shift. So I can hold the upshift button, and when I release the throttle, it shifts up. So I don't really use the clutch that much. Here, lock to bike, important to have off so that it's easier to see where you're going, since the camera, if it's locked to the bike, you'll just look at the sky when you're doing a wheel. Automatic clutch, that's good for really slow circle wheelies, so you don't stall the bike. Automatic tire change, I don't really know what that does. Shift help I have off because it messes with throttle input. It makes it so that when you upshift, you release the throttle. That's no good. Then here's my setup for the SX150 MX. So I have the default setup, but with low rear tire pressure, suspension default, drivetrain. This depends on what I'm doing, but this works well. 1348. If I'm doing really slow circle wheelies, I'll gear it down even more. Okay, to start off, down the left corner, you have the lean input. That's how much I move the analog stick, left analog stick for me. Throttle, it's modular, so I can give as much throttle as I want. Front and rear brake, and then the clutch. The automatic clutch makes it so that if I put it in gear like this, you can see that the clutch is half on. That's not me, that is the automatic clutch doing its thing. Then also looking here, you can look at the movement of the analog stick all over. Okay, so to start off, there's a couple of techniques to get the wheel off the ground. The first, and in my opinion, a bad one, is power wheelie. So that is basically just full throttle to get the wheel off the ground. The reason that this is not that beneficial is because you spend a lot of speed and RPMs in getting the wheel up. So we can try it here. So we're going 35, and we're almost 60 when we get the wheel up. A better technique is using the clutch. So even just using the clutch, we hold in the clutch, throttle, and then we dump the clutch. So like this. You see there we got the wheel up. Oh, we got the wheel up, but in a lot less speed increase. So there 40 approximately. But clutching up alone is not enough in the higher gears. So what you want to do then is you want to lean forward and do a clutch up just as you lean back. So you continually lean forward, clutch in, throttle, and just as you dump the clutch, you lean back. So it looks something like this. And that is enough to get the bike up in pretty much any gear. And there is one more technique if you have like a low powered bike with the 125s, I think you need this, or if you have a heavy geared bike, and that is using the brakes. Like you can see on the shadow, when I press my brakes, the front compresses. So if I combine the braking with the leaning forward and then leaning back with popping the clutch, you can get the bike up while having low RPMs in a heavy gear, like sixth. Oh, that was a bad one. Let's try again. So here, two-stroke has a little power here, but we're still able to get the bike up because we're using all the other techniques to be able to do that. So when whichever method you prefer, I prefer the leaning and the clutch, and sometimes the braking. You have to learn to keep the wheelie going. And there you see me just releasing the throttle and then shifting up. I don't really use the clutch all that much, not while shifting, at least. So you can do another one of those. So clutch up, shift, and keep chasing the wheelie. And doing this, you will, yeah, so that is the longest wheelie I was able to do there. So to be able to go further, we have to go higher on the wheelie and go up to balance point, which is where you don't need to keep chasing the wheelie and go faster and faster, where you can stay in a consistent speed. So on this bike, it's approximately when the front suspension is at the horizon, like here. So now you can see that I'm barely touching the gas and brake to modulate the height of the bike. Can even slow down a lot and then start going again. So this is very important to know how to do, like just control the balance, especially in the wheelie turns. And then when you're able to do that, a line and stuff, you can try to coast. So all you do there is you go behind the balance point and you use your rear brakes to keep you from falling over. Gonna try to do one here. So here you see. Then we can throttle out and do another one. Yeah, so that is basically coasting. And you can also graduate from coasting to scraping. And that is just going really far back and not falling over like I did there. Okay, so let's try to scrape again. There we go. And that is like the fundamentals, I guess, of wheeling, or maybe not scraping. That's and now we can look at the turning part. So to do wheelie turns, all you basically have to do is do a wheelie and then lean a little bit like this. All the same that you do on the ground, but you have to keep the bike balanced front to back so you don't loop the bike and you don't fall down. So we can do a wheelie straight here, and all I do is hold the analog stick a little bit to the left, and then I balance the bike front to back. And here we can see that I have the balance point while going in a turn. You might also notice that the slower I go, even though I don't move the analog stick, the tighter the turn will become. So this is just, if you look at the inputs on the bottom left corner, it's just stable braking and gas. So we can try that. We can do a one to the right, hold the analog stick still. We just control the throttle and the brake. What just happened there sometimes happen when you do the circles. Bike will sometimes go the opposite way. You kind of just learn to deal with it. I don't know why always like there it happened. And when you've gotten a little bit of a hang of the wheelie turns on the parking lot, you might try to do around something like this tree. So you have something to really test you.